Hello IELTS listeners, this is David Wills with another episode of TED-IELTS, and today I'm going to teach you how to structure a paragraph for IELTS writing. Let's look at the basics of how paragraphs function. When we're learning to write an essay for IELTS, we need to consider 3 steps. First, you have to learn how to write sentences. We will not be considering that today. We have other lessons on this that you can look at our website, www.TED-IELTS.com. Next, we consider paragraphs, which is what we will look at today. And finally, you can write an essay. You need to do this in order. You need to be able to learn the basics before you can learn how to do the whole essay itself. Let's think then, what is a paragraph? So a paragraph consists of some sentences, although people are going to disagree on how many that is, that are all focused on one idea. You should always plan an essay before writing so that you don't stray off topic. Make sure that everything that is contained within your paragraph relates to that one topic, that one idea. When we're considering the structure of a paragraph, we need to consider the beginning, middle, and end. In a paragraph, we have 3 different ways of expressing this. Generally, the first sentence is called the topic sentence. This is a very general sentence which gives the main idea of the paragraph. Next, you're going to have supporting sentences. There could be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or more of these, and they'll provide details or examples, some other kind of information to support or explain the main idea. Finally, you will have a concluding sentence that summarizes and possibly connects the topic of this paragraph with the next one. The topic sentence is usually the first sentence in a paragraph. It is also the most general. It presents a big idea and it gives no specific details because they will come later. It could be as simple as this. A lot of people enjoy classical music. Notice there's no specific information here. In this kind of sentence, we're going to use words like a lot of, several, or many. The supporting sentences are going to come next. These give the details. They all should relate directly to the topic sentence and expand upon it. They will include things like evidence, explanation, or examples. Here is where you will have facts, figures, or other particular details. You may also want to tell a story, connect ideas, or express degrees of importance within these sentences. Considering our previous example, a lot of people like classical music, we could carry on with this example supporting sentence. In fact, songs classified as classical music were downloaded over 20 million times on Spotify last month. Notice how we're still on the same topic. We're still talking about classical music. We're talking about a lot of people. However, in this case, we're giving specific details. 20 million listens on one platform downloaded last month. These are all very specific, and yet they relate to the previous general sentence. After we've written several supporting sentences, we will probably include a concluding sentence in which we restate the main idea without repeating any part of the paragraph. In this sentence, we will probably reference previous sentences whilst paraphrasing the topic sentence. Here is an example of how we might do that. It is clear then that classical music enjoys a high degree of popularity. Notice that this basically says the same thing as the topic sentence. However, where we say it is clear then, we are referring to our supporting sentences. Let's look more closely at how to build developed paragraphs. Here is an example of an essay that takes into consideration the topic of environment and/or animals. I have labeled the topic sentence and concluding sentence and highlighted them in red. Please take a moment to pause and read this paragraph. Before you start writing your essay for IELTS, you should plan it, even if that just consists of a few notes on a piece of paper. This can help stop you going off topic and can help structure your paragraphs in a more logical and orderly fashion. Here are the notes that would have made the previous paragraph. So we have our main idea that will be expressed in the topic sentence, supported by 3 examples. We're talking about tigers being endangered because of people. Well, we will look at 3 reasons why tigers may well have been endangered: agriculture, Chinese medicine, and logging. Now we could further expand this to make a more complex paragraph, although for IELTS you're obviously limited by the 250 word recommended minimum and the fact that writing any more than, say, 300, 350 would be time consuming and also just inviting more possibility for error. If we were to write more, you might want to structure your notes like this. For each point, for each of those 3 points, you might develop into 3 more points. You don't have to write this much for IELTS, but you could possibly choose 2 of these topics and develop them. This is what our resulting paragraph would look like. As you can see, it is extremely long. However, it is very well developed and it is structured in such a way that it reads logically and each sentence supports the previous one. Finally, the concluding sentence refers back to the previous supporting sentences while paraphrasing the topic sentence. Please take a moment to pause and read this example. When we develop a paragraph, we first state the topic sentence and then include supporting sentences. We've been looking at some examples so far, but let's talk about it a little more. We could include some examples that illustrate our point. We could give further explanation. We may tell a story or give a chronology. Chronology, by the way, means facts in order of when they happened according to time. We may include some quotations or evidence or argumentative reasoning. Let's look at an example. Here is a short paragraph about a person's hometown. Let's look at how it is structured. The first sentence is very vague and general. My hometown is famous for several amazing natural features. Notice that it says several instead of a number and amazing natural features rather than reference anything specifically. Then we go through these features in order. First, it is noted for the Wheaton River, which is very wide and beautiful. So we name the feature and we say why it is amazing. Also, on the other side of town is Wheaton Hill, which is unusual because it is very steep. Again, we name the feature, Wheaton Hill, and we say why it is amazing. Finally, the third amazing feature is the big old tree. This tree stands 200 feet tall and is probably about 600 years old. Here we have got 2 sentences that support this idea, this example, and the second one gives details again expressing why the natural feature is amazing. Notice that all of this is on topic. They all relate to natural features. There's nothing unnatural, and they're all explained to be amazing. Notice as well that we use linking words, first, also, the third, so this helps the reader to understand. It helps give our writing more structure and logical flow. Make sure when you're writing, when you're planning your essay, that you have unity. Unity means everything working together as one. In a paragraph, all supporting sentences should follow the main idea expressed in the topic sentence. They should develop and support the topic sentence, and they should all be relevant to the focus of the paragraph. Coherence means, as we were just discussing there, that the ideas should be linked. That is where we might use linking words or phrases. The order of sentences is important, and there should be no gaps in ideas, no jumps from one thing to another. We connect our ideas logically, and we use linking words and phrases or transitions to move from one sentence or idea to the next. Finally, we would have noticed in that previous example that there was no concluding sentence. We had our topic sentence, we had our supporting sentences, but we missed the concluding sentence. As we've discussed earlier, this should look back at the previous sentences. It should restate, summarize, and reinforce the main idea. Here is an example of how we could add a concluding sentence to the previous paragraph about the hometown. Here we have added a sentence in bold. It says, "These 3 landmarks are truly amazing and make my hometown a famous place." So we've expressed the same idea as the first sentence, but in different words. And when we say these, then we are referring back to the supporting sentences. We also use the phrase 3 landmarks, meaning several features. This helps bring together our paragraph, giving it more coherence and helping our reader to understand our main idea before we move on to the next paragraph. Finally, when you're moving from sentence to sentence, we need to include a linker or transition. This can help the reader follow your ideas better. Here we can see several categories of transitions. Each of these has a different meaning, and knowing these meanings and being able to use these transitions effectively will help you get a far higher band score by showing the examiner that you have a good grasp of the ideas required for the coherence and cohesion section of the marking rubric. Well, I hope today's lesson has been helpful for you. Don't forget to subscribe, click that notification button, give us a like if you've enjoyed this video, leave a comment below if there's anything you'd like to see us discuss in future. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Reddit, and of course you can take a look at either of my 2 websites that you see on the screen right now. I'll see you next week for another episode of TED-IELTS.